Call this meeting of the Harriman City Council, June the 20th, 2017 to order. Before we get started, we'll have a prayer by Vice Mayor Wright, followed by the pledge allegiance to the flag. Vice Mayor Wright.
Would you join me, please? Heavenly Father, we thank you again tonight for the opportunity to once again meet on behalf of the citizens of our community. Father, we ask that your Spirit guide us as we conduct the business for our constituents. Father, we're thankful for all that we have in our town, and we're blessed that we were selected just recently as a progressive, one of the most progressive small towns in the state. It's a pleasure to see the positive things that are happening, and we're thankful for those people who serve on these committees and who provide the services for our people. We ask that you would continue to be with our protective forces and watch over our fire and police as they go about doing their duties. In Christ's name we pray.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Here.
Buddy Holly.
Here.
Tim Johnson.
Here.
Kenny Me. Sam Russell.
Here.
Lonnie Wright.
Here.
Form. Need a motion to approve the minutes of the June 6, 2017 meeting. Motion by Councilman Russell, second by Councilman Johnson. Councilman Russell? Yes, sir. Councilman Johnson?
No, sir.
Any other comments? Corrections, amendments? Call the roll, please.
Chris Taylor.
Yes.
Buddy Holly. Yes. Tim Johnson.
Yes.
Kenny Me. Sam Russell.
Yes.
Lonnie Wright.
Motion carries. Need a motion to approve to pay the outstanding bills for the month. Motion by Councilman Wright, second by Councilman Holly. Councilman Wright. Councilman Holly. Floor is open for discussion. Call the roll, please.
Chris Taylor.
Yes.
Buddy Holly.
Yes.
Tim Johnson.
Yes.
Sam Russell.
Yes.
Lonnie Wright.
Yes. Motion carries. At this time, we'll hear from delegation. If you'd like to approach council, please stand, state your name, and limit your comments to 3 minutes.
Rebecca's going to help. Yeah. It was really nice of Knoxville Weekend to come out on our first day and do that for us for free. And my name is Barry Paulson. I'm with Darkest Entertainment, and we're the producers of the Tennessee Medieval Fair. So I just want to give you a real quick update of how the show went. Overall, it was a really good show. We did suffer from some bad weather. The storm that came through, it knocked all the tents down and some trees down. Gratefully, no one was injured, no horses were injured, but we did have to close on our last Sunday so we could clean up, get power back on, and we're very grateful that people rallied and we were able to open on our last day. So we're grateful for that. As you can see, it was a good family show. We have 7 stages on about 8 acres, and we added 2 stages this year, so it keeps growing as far as the things that we can offer. We had about 3,000 people. We had expected more, but it kept being forecast for rain. And so even though on the second Sunday, we didn't have any rain at the site, apparently it was raining every place else and people stayed home. So it's so hard, you expect as a student, I'm going to study and then I will get the outcome that I want. But then when you're kind of outside and with the weather, we just don't know, so that's obviously difficult. It takes about 150 people to put on the show. We hire temp employees plus all of the actors and vendors, so it's a big community effort. Let's see, 86% of the people came were adults, 14% were kids. That's the same as last year. We don't count kids 4 and under. Patrons came from 21 states. That was the same as last year. 4 states were different, but it was the same. And also from 30 counties within Tennessee, and that's a few more counties than last year. So it shows it's already a national event. As far as the patrons, 94% came from Tennessee, and then within Tennessee, most came from Knox County, as you would expect, 40%, and from Rome County, 12%. So we feel that there's a greater understanding of what the festival is, and people like it. Our reviews on Facebook for all of our past shows is 4.5, so that's holding, and there's no customer complaints that we can't deal with, so we're grateful for that. And we're starting to work on our second annual Pirate Fest, which is October 7th and 8th. That's on Columbus Day weekend. So I would have this for you, but I ran out of ink, so I'll give it to you, Mayor. There's some pictures and everything. And then Rome County News was kind enough to put this together. It was in everyone's, and so I bought some for all of you. So if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Councilman, anything? Thank you for what you continue to do out there.
You're welcome. We're grateful to be able to do it.
Anyone else like to approach council? Yes, sir.
Bill Alexander, have we ever got to talk to Rome State about our TV station?
I forget the exact date, but we've got the meeting set up with Dr. Whaley. It's in the next 2 weeks, but I forget the exact date.
Yeah, because I found out some of the things I've heard they said was wrong, lies, and I mean lies, not misgivings.
Should have a report by next meeting. Anyone else? If not, we're going to old business. The only item under old business is review and possibly approve quote to repair culvert under Carlock Avenue near Bumgardner Road. Kevin, you want to speak on this?
Yes, sir. We're requesting council approve a quote that was given to us by Barger Construction, $9,500 to repair this culvert. We had hoped to do the work while the state was doing the work on the highway expansion, but as that work got pushed into the winter months, we had to delay, and so they've agreed to come back and do it. We have the culvert going in under the road that is the opening to an underground drainage channel, and the first portion of that has collapsed, and only a portion of the area that should be draining water is open to do so. So this would cut that portion out, reconstruct it, and open that drainage channel back up for full capacity.
I went out with the street supervisor, Mr. Langley, and looked at it, and the neighbor that lives there in the front of it, it's been flooding their property for a long time. And so I think it's something that council needs to really consider doing. It's, we've got to fix it.
Did you say we budgeted for it?
It would come out of our road construction budget. It would actually be in next year's budget, but assuming we carry forward the same funding next year as we did this year, it should accommodate the repairs.
Motion to approve spending $9,500 to Bargers to fix the culvert on Carlock.
Motion.
Motion by Councilman Ayler, second by Councilman Russell. Councilman Ayler.
Yes, sir.
Councilman Russell.
If it's a flood in their front yard, we need to do it.
Is that the same one that's in the backyard too? Yeah, I got called 2 weeks ago on it. It's bad.
Floor is open for discussion. Call the roll, please.
Chris Taylor?
Yes.
Buddy Holly?
Yes.
Tim Johnson?
Yes.
Sam Russell?
Yes.
Lonnie Wright?
Yeah.
Motion carries. This time we'll hear from the council. Councilman Russell.
I had a few things. I had several phone calls, people asking me why we're not having the Poke Salad Festival in Harriman this year, why I've not had it. That we started it, and can it just go somewhere else? I don't know if that's you or Kevin or who, but
You yield the floor to Rebecca.
Rebecca.
I can speak on that somewhat. David Webb, I believe, had released the rights to that festival to the Rhode Arts Council. And the last I had heard from them months ago, because I do the reservations for the park, was that they weren't going to do the festival because it was too much for them. They didn't have enough volunteers. And after hearing some rumors, I contacted that woman again and asked what happened. And it sounds like the Women's Auxiliary Group still wanted to do their fundraiser, which they're the ones who make the polk. And so they had started as that they were going to do it at a facility in Rockwood that already had all their equipment. It was indoors, it was air conditioned, they weren't going to have to move. And then I think it just kind of ran from there. But I don't know why nobody really contacted anybody here about it. I would have liked to have been in that discussion, but by the time I found out what had happened, it was already way in motion. So.
Okay.
So it was, let me make sure I understand it. It was owned by David Webb, and he leased the rights to,
I think he released them to them because I had actually talked to David Webb this week about it. He had nothing about it. They did not contact him about it either. He had no knowledge until he saw it in the paper that it was happening. So, but that's all I know about it. It sounded like they just wanted to, it started as that it was an easier facility for them. And then I think maybe somebody else was like, oh, well, why don't we go ahead and do this? And you know how it goes, just kind of.
was we not going to do it? Is that the reason?
The city does not, it is not a city's festival. And we host it at our park here. We have our police force help with it. But there was nothing between us that like we didn't want it here. That was not the case at all. So I think that they decided they weren't going to do it, and somebody else was like, well, we'll still do the fundraiser, and then I think it just kind of.
Councilman.
Another thing I had was, I noticed the city of Kingston had sent a request to the school board that they get the rights to the Roan County High School if we have a combination of schools. And I know that, I heard that if that happens, the middle school will move down to the high school. And I think we should ask the school board to give us the middle school gym. I'd like for everybody to consider that. It's a lot better shape than our rec center.
So the city of Kingston sent
It's
the
in a
school
letter.
board.
The school board of the county commission won.
I've seen something about it, but are you asking for us to consider it,
I'd like for us to consider it.
to send them a letter
Yes, send them a letter doing the same thing the city of Kingston did.
to ask for the middle school gym if they move into the high school? Which the middle school gym is a new gymnasium. We're already using it in the rec program.
Will that building also be vacant?
Yeah, they moved to that. The thing I don't like about the community center is there's no AC down there. It's horrible.
I'm thinking, could that facility also work in the rec? Is one of the same?
It's not near as good shape as that gym.
No, I understand. I'm talking about both of them.
You may ask for the middle school. and
If
the gymnasium.
it's better than the in that rec center down there. We've been looking for a place to have some extra activities, so.
Well, we talked about, we talked about a senior center and different activities that I had even thought about with the middle school, like a senior center stuff, but I think that that was one of our goals with the hospital, was to get a senior center in it to bring people downtown. I don't have a problem with that, I wouldn't want us to get in a position where we have a bunch of buildings that we can't use again, and then we're responsible for demoing them if they need to be demoed. I think that we could send a letter that we would like first option on the buildings if they move out of them, and then we decide at that time whether we would want the middle school or not, or if we just want the gymnasium. I think the gymnasium would be good for the rec program. It gives you a new gym that's just been built with not a lot of maintenance, whereas the middle school is going to give you a 50-something model building with a lot of maintenance. And we talked about if we come out of PD and stuff, getting rid of those buildings and stuff, so we'd do whatever y'all do.
Well, if we don't need it, we
Right.
certainly wouldn't take it.
And we may need it, but I think the good thing would be if we done anything, would be send a letter that we'd like first option. And I think that's what Kingston did. They wanted first option on the gym and the football field, because their city league uses both of those. We use the gym here, so I think maybe just a letter asking for first option.
Do we know what the school board's intentions are with the building once it's vacated?
From what I've understood, their first option they probably would like to, if they come out of the middle school, they'd probably like to see them take it over, because they don't want the responsibility of having to demo it. So that might be, but now I don't know that it would be so much the gym, but I don't know why they'd want to keep the gym, because they're still maintaining the buildings that they said they don't want to maintain, so.
I just want to avoid the possibility of the building just sitting there empty, and we have enough of those. Even if we did have to take it and demolish it, I think that would be better than just having an empty building sitting there where the school board has no intention of using it.
Do we have to make a motion or anything? Send a letter?
I think we should discuss it
In a workshop. We'll talk about briefly in the workshop.
That's all I have.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Johnson?
Just one thing, on Easter Road, right when you drop down in it, Drac and them had a huge tree fall, and when they moved it over, I don't know if the backhoe pushed it down in the creek or what, but it's sticking like way out of the creek, and it's big. It's right by the road, and I don't know if we could get something over there and pull that out. It may damage that culvert where it's laying later on, but it's pretty good size. I see it every day when I go past it going to the house, but
Have you talked to Mr. Langley about it?
no.
I would think that from what I've seen and gathered, there's quite a few big trees that they've pushed over until they get some of the other stuff cleaned up, and then they'll go back and get those, the ones that's kind of out of the way. So I'll check with him, make sure it's on his list, but I think it is. Kevin, if you'll check with him.
And one more thing, Kevin, that rubber mat that we have down there at the park that we pulled up, are you planning on reusing that? Because it's in, was there any way we could chop that stuff up and put it down? Because it's going to be a mess trying to put that stuff back. It's got little lock things on it.
What the sales rep recommended was when you use the locks, when they typically installed it, they would glue the locks together, and then they just glue the outer edge of the rubber matting. So with us relaying it, we've got enough glue to glue all the tiles, the full tile down. So what he had recommended was just taking a saw and cutting the little locks off of it, because we're going to glue the entire bottom down, and then they'll be butted up against one another and glued entirely down to the concrete pad, and they'll fit tighter together that way and go back down.
Okay. Yeah, we were looking at them today, and some of them's got big pieces ripped out of it and stuff.
Yeah. We anticipated losing about 15%, just through the process of pulling it up, especially those that were glued down. So we knew the area would probably shrink a little bit. And the problem with chipping it, like you're talking about, is that it's not considered ADA accessible. And while the entire playground doesn't have to be, to get state funding, we have to keep at least a portion of it ADA accessible. So that's why you've got to have something more like a matting, at least on a portion of it.
Okay. That's all I got.
Councilman Johnson. Councilman Naylor.
I met with Jess Rittenhouse. He's the one that's in charge of the old Harriman Cemetery that's up on top of the hill. And there was a lot of damage up there from the storms that passed through. And they've done a really good job of clearing it out as much as they can. I know that the street department has been covered up with their efforts to clean up the rest of the city and remove debris that has accumulated. I would like council to consider, and maybe we can talk about this in our workshop, but for council to consider maybe asking the street department to assist them with some of the cleanup. Like I say, they've done most of it. Really what they're just needing some assistance with is hauling it off. A lot of it's been cut into small pieces. So if we would consider that as a council, I think those that are in charge of the cemetery would be greatly appreciative. Additionally, we should probably look at some type of succession plan. The responsibility of that cemetery used to fall on the city, and Jess Rittenhouse showed me documentation supporting that. At some point, I think it was in the 70s, it reverted over to a private foundation for the families of those who were buried there. We may need to consider some type of cooperation in the city between that committee, that foundation, and the city at some point. So I'm thinking long range over the next 1 to 2 years, but we should consider that. That's all I have.
Okay. Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Wright? Councilman Holly? I've got a couple of things. First off, I want to thank Councilman Johnson and Billy Joe Daniels and the others that went down and helped. I know you two was instrumental in it. They went down and cleaned the bathrooms from top to bottom down at Riverfront Park, and I went down and looked at them Monday, and they look great. Appreciate y'all's. I know you was down there all day working on them, and you've done some pressure washing and cleaning. We truly appreciate that. I appreciate the time that you all put in it. In saying that, I've went down a couple times in the last week, and it's something we've all talked about a lot. Riverfront Park is, if you ride through it and look, that should be what people see when they come into Harriman. It represents who we are, I feel like, in a lot of ways. And when you ride through it and you look, there's areas that it's not who we are. You got broke down garbage cans, you got things that's falling apart, gutters hanging off the buildings, and to me that's not okay with it being the city's. The thing that I've talked about and y'all talked about is keeping our stuff up, us cleaning our house first before we start pushing it on everybody else. And we've been pushing it on everybody else, but we must keep ours clean and fixed up. And we're having a work day down there next Tuesday, the 27th, 10 to 2. Billy Joe Daniels is spearheading it. For anybody that wants to come down, bring a pressure washer, bring some cleaning stuff, bring some hammers, nails, whatever you got. We want to take those garbage cans that's made of wood that's been down there since the park was put there, and take some of that stuff out of there, clean it up, and make it look like we want it to look. And you know, I hope to see everybody that can come down. We want to do it during the week. Sometimes it's easier during the week. Plus, it gives us a little bit of leeway to have our crews around if we have to haul something off or something instead of doing it on the weekend. We'll do a bigger one down the road, but you know, I went down Monday and one of the guys was down there painting some graffiti off of the walls, and you know, we must take pride in it to get everybody else to take pride in it, and I think a work day would be great. to let the people see that we do have interest in what we have. But thank you all for what you did, and I look forward to it continuing to grow and beautify. Also, I was honored with Councilman Johnson's presence and our city manager, Kevin Helms, to go to the TML conference this year, which is in Murfreesboro. And I've never been to one. I've only been the mayor for almost a year, but I was on council. I should have been to more. And I won't miss any more because I enjoyed it. Learned a lot. I thought it was some good knowledge. We set in on some streetscapes about how to redo downtown and some things that was very, very beneficial to us. But by going, they give out about 9 or 10 awards a year. And Kevin had told us we was going to win an award. Matter of fact, we was going to win 2 awards. Out of the 9 or 10 awards down there, City of Harriman brought back 2 awards. The first is from the TML Municipal Achievement Award, Small City Progress. And basically, the way I understand what this really is we start we put a plan out, and then we make that plan happen. That's what this is. This is our plan. This is our goals that we set. Well, we don't just set them, we make them happen. And that's what this award is about, is the progress that we have accomplished. And it's not just this council, it's the councils before. The mayor before was very instrumental in getting those things done. So, I want to say thank you all. And thank you, Kevin, for all the hard work, the office staff. The other award is from TCMA, Award for Excellence in Municipal Government. Strategic planning, which is the planning process that makes this process work. And as you all can see, we do plan to make our city bigger, better, and brighter. And we was awarded for it. If you look, we get a town and country paper once a month. There's Harriman. It shows that we're not dead, we're not a ghost town, we're not dying, we're alive and well, and from what I read and see, we're doing great. There's some areas we can improve, but I think we're doing great. We're heading in the right direction, and it's because of the leadership that sits around up here. And I want to thank you all for all you do for the city, the citizens that help. But it's exciting. It was exciting being there and being the only town that I knew of from East Tennessee that was winning awards. And it makes you proud to go up there and stand and represent your city. So you all have something to brag about. Thank you. That's all I got. Kevin, you're not on here. Do you have any old business you want to discuss? New business?
I just let you know, the Farmers Market Pavilion is supposed to show up tomorrow. And the crew that's working on the playground for us, they're prepared to do that work. As soon as it arrives, we'll probably prepare the foundations prior to its arrival. And that's all I've got.
Dr. Carter, do you have anything?
Not specifically, but backing up to the problem with the brush and trees. I've had 2 inquiries about whether the city could help, or is there any aid available to fill up holes that were left when the tree turned over? Do you know of any aid that local citizens might get in getting dirt to fill the holes up?
I know we're going to probably have some dirt coming up when we start on the park down on the riprap. You want to address that? And that's the only dirt I know we're having.
I'm not sure the exact timing, but if they can wait a few weeks when they start the riprap of the riverbank, they'll be cutting the grade back, and we'll have a considerable amount of dirt that they'll be hauling off. The contractor is responsible for that, but it's a cost that they bear. So the closer that they can find a site to place it to the park, the happier they would be. So I'm sure if somebody's interested, it can be worked out.
That'd be a good match.
It's the type of soil it is. If you're just filling it for lawn purposes, it'll be fine. It doesn't compact real well, so you wouldn't want to use it in an area where you might eventually want to build a structure. But for other purposes, it'd be fine.
Sounds like a good possibility. That's all.
Awesome, good.
No, I don't have anything.
New business. Review and possibly approve request for proposals to repair culvert on Scenic Drive. Kevin.
This process started last year as part of the paving project. Scenic Drive was one of the streets that was on the list to be paved. There are roughly 8 culverts under Scenic Drive, all of about the same age and condition. They've been televised. One in particular, the one that is closest to the bridge over I-40, has collapsed to the point where the roadway is sunken quite a bit, and worsened when the heavy paving equipment went into the lower part of West Hills to do the paving. So we've been working with companies to try and find a way to repair those culverts without having to dig them all out. And the request for proposal that we put out was for pipe bursting, where they would burst and cut out the culvert that's in place now and pull a new plastic pipe in behind it. To do all of those sites, the quote was $154,496.85. That was from Portland Utilities Construction Company. It was the only proposal that we received. It was sent out to several other companies. There's not a lot of companies that do this type of work. When we had quoted it last year, just to kind of have an idea of what we were working with from a budgetary standpoint, it was about $125. The equipment needed to do it has increased in price, as has the plastic pipe, and that's what the differential is. But what we would request, because we think some of these culverts may be able to be UV lined, which may be cheaper, we would request you approve the proposal, but grant myself and the Public Works Director the ability to negotiate with the company to lower the price should we determine that some of the culverts could be UV lined as opposed to pipe bursting, which would give the same result, but hopefully at a cheaper price.
154, what'd you say?
154,496.85, so basically 154,500. This is in the paving budget.
Need a motion to approve the expenditure of $154,000, not to exceed $154,500, and to give Kevin and Mr. Langley the right to negotiate.
Make a motion. Second.
Motion by Councilman Johnson, second by Councilman Ayler. Councilman Johnson.
It needs to be done. I went and looked at a few of them with DRAC, and they're in bad shape. That's all I got.
Councilman Ayler.
I'll say what I always say on this, whenever we have infrastructure costs that are substantial like this, it really would have been nice to have gotten that tax passed. That way people passing through our city would have been paying for it instead of the citizens of Harriman.
Floor is open for discussion.
I agree with Mr. Ridley.
What's the estimated time it'll take to get this done, Kevin?
It's hard to estimate because it would depend. The more of these that we can UV line as opposed to pipe burst, the quicker the project will go. The pipe bursting is fairly slow, particularly when you're dealing with metal culverts. So that will impact it greatly. I would estimate that we're probably looking at about 4 weeks to do the work.
Before winter or after winter?
Our intent, I'm not sure what their mobilization time frame would be, but to get to it as quickly as possible. We would like to finish out the paving project this year before the plant is shut down for winter.
FY18.
It would be FY18, because I'm sure it will take them at least 2 weeks to mobilize at a minimum.
Any other discussion? Call the roll, please.
Chris Taylor?
Yes.
Buddy Holly?
Yes.
Tim Johnson?
Yes.
Sam Russell?
Yes.
Lonnie Wright?
Yes.
Motion carries. Next item, discuss and possibly approve alternate date for the next regular council meeting scheduled for held on July the 4th. Unless you guys will show up on July the 4th, we need to either cancel that meeting and just have the one the third week of July and leave it open for a special call meeting if we need it, or we can go ahead and schedule another meeting for the second week of July. It's completely up to you.
Restricted.
You want another meeting that month, or you want to put it on the 18th?
Whatever y'all want to do, it don't matter to me.
We have a special call meeting if we need one, can't we?
My recommendation would just be have it on the 18th unless there's a problem, and then leave it open for a special call if we need it.
That's fine.
So moved.
Okay, with it?
Second.
Yep.
Motion by Councilman Russell, second by Councilman Adler. Councilman Russell.
No, sir.
Councilman Adler. Floor is open for discussion. Call the roll.
Chris Taylor?
Yes.
Buddy Holly?
Yes.
Tim Johnson?
Yes.
Sam Russell?
Yes.
Lonnie Wright?
One other item that needs to come before council, need permission to waive the agenda rule for a piece of playground equipment. Motion by Councilman Adler.
Second.
Second by Councilman Russell. Councilman Adler.
Yes.
Councilman Russell.
No, sir.
Call the roll, please.
Chris Taylor?
Here.
To waive the agenda.
The way the agenda rule. Sorry. Yes.
Buddy Holly? Tim Johnson?
Yes.
Sam Russell?
Yes.
Lonnie Wright?
Yes.
I'll let you explain it.
Okay. What our plan is for the 2 large pieces of playground equipment that we are taking out of Riverfront Park to put the new equipment in, is to relocate that to Flower Mill Flats, so that there'll be some additional activities down there besides just the ball fields for the other kids when they're down there for the games particularly, but it would be open at any time for the public. The one thing that we do not have presently is a swing set to be relocated down there with it. We came across a particular swing set at the TMF conference that one of the vendors had. So what I'm requesting is that council approve purchasing that swing set to go to Riverfront Park, and then we will relocate one of the ones that is currently at Riverfront Park to Flower Mill Flats with the other playground equipment. The piece of equipment, which is rather large, I have a picture of it. I think you've all seen the picture. But typically, that piece of equipment retails for $10,500. It's the entire frame, the swing, everything. The company was running a special for anyone who was at the conference to purchase that piece of equipment for $8,500. And so we can get in on that at a discount. So what we're requesting is permission to make that purchase with an amount not to exceed $8,500 for that to go at Riverfront Park. And what I would propose is if we take the money that we budgeted this year for equipment and rec, particularly for Riverfront Park, reallocated in the current budget year at the same level, no increase, that would be enough to cover this piece of equipment.
Motion to approve Rec Park to spend up to $8,500 on a new swing for Riverfront Park.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Johnson, second by Councilman Russell. Councilman Johnson.
It's the coolest swing I've ever seen. I'm serious.
You're not lying on it.
Well, I could ride it, but trust me, if we get it, it's gonna blow your mind when you see it. I'll try to get on it down there. This guy said, "Hold on, buddy."
Pictures. We got pictures.
Yeah, we got pictures of it.
Councilman Russell.
I think it'd be a real attraction for the park.
That's all I have.
Floor is open for discussion. Call roll, please.
Chris Taylor?
Yes.
Buddy Holly?
Yes.
Tim Johnson?
Yes.
Sam Russell?
Yes.
Lonnie Wright?
Yes. Anything else need to come before this council? Motion to adjourn?
Motion.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.